And hello, everybody. Welcome. It is episode 87 of the Tech Informist, recorded live on Wednesday, July the 8th, 2015. It's hump day, everybody. It's hump day. It is rainy. It's nice and cool here in St. Louis. Brad, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, actually. I'm really excited because of all the things that we have to talk about, really. Few surprises to talk about as well.
Yes.
But, yeah, doing pretty good.
Lot of great stories to talk about today. But we're going to do more in depth. As we mentioned on episode 86, we're changing the format up a little bit to do more in depth kind of personal experiences and personal opinions, not just relay news story, just doing a whole bunch of other little things. Hey, my name's Kevin Harvell. That's Brad Whiteside. This is the Tech Informers. Let's get this show going. Lot of things to talk about. Let's actually start with OnePlus 2.
Yes.
Now, we're not talking edition. We're not talking the answer is 3 here. We're talking about the OnePlus OEM manufacturing that uses, I believe, CyanogenMod as their Android OS.
Unless they changed it to Oxygen, because I can't remember.
Yeah, because I know they were kind of at odds with Cyanogen, and there was just kind of a big uproar about that. But for those of you that are listening that might be unfamiliar with what OnePlus is, they are kind of a game changer when it comes to the quality of the smartphone and for the price.
Yes, they will survive, in other words.
Yeah. You get some crazy specs for much lower prices than you would expect. Similar to the Nexus line from Google, I would say.
Why don't you rattle off some of those awesome specs for under $450 off contract?
All right, so talking about specs for that, I'll go ahead and mention the prices. For 16 gig of storage, you can get, that is $249. For 64 gig, you can get it for $299. Now that's pretty crazy. Now we're talking about a device with 3 gigabytes of memory, Snapdragon 801 processor, 2.5 gigahertz. As mentioned, 16 or 64 gig of storage. And a, what's the size? 5.5 inch display.
Beautiful size.
Yeah. With a 13 meg rear camera.
So I am really excited for the OnePlus generations of phones that they keep iterating on and coming out with, because this is where the smartphone market needs to go. The whole days of $600, $800, $1,000 phones really needs to go away, because they do not cost that much. I'm sorry, but they don't, and they are proving it by making this phone available for that price.
Yeah. In battery life, I mean, honestly, I only know a couple people that have those. And
what's the size of the battery again?
The size of the battery is 3,100 milliamp hours.
Okay, so it's just slightly smaller than what a 1520 is. So I would imagine that it would have great battery life.
It does. The people that I know that do have them, they just rave about their battery life. Screen on time numbers, 5 to 6 hours. They just say it's great. Sure, you don't get all the bonus software that companies like Samsung or LG might throw on.
Oh, you mean crapware?
Crap. Yes, crapware / bloatware / whatever you want today.
Well, that's a deal breaker, Kevin.
I know. I mean, who doesn't want to have all sorts of bells and whistles making your phone do things you might try one time and never use again?
Yeah, I am completely okay with that.
Yeah, stock Android for me is the way to go.
Oh, yes.
So it's one of the things we're really excited about with OnePlus 2 and the rumors of 2 different Nexus devices.
Oh, so like a big one and a small one?
Yeah, something like a kind of like a Nexus 5 2015 edition, which would be like a 5.2 inch, and then one that's like a 5.5 to 5.7 inch.
Nice.
That would possibly be made by 2 different manufacturers.
Interesting. So I've heard rumors that LG is supposed to be working on one of those.
Yeah, LG might be making the smaller one, and Xiaomi X.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
XIO. It's like, yeah, it's spelled really weird.
Xiaomi, something like
Yeah,
that.
but they Chinese based, I believe.
Yes.
They're definitely up and coming, and they're another prime example of why smartphones should be cheaper, and you should just really stop the whole $1,000 smartphone because they don't cost that much. I feel like Samsung is going to get burned really hard here in the next couple of years if they don't watch it on
Yeah,
their
it's
prices,
very, very possible.
especially if the quality of these two, you know, are up there. Um, I haven't heard bad things about the OnePlus. I've heard people really wanting said phone,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, the biggest issue with the OnePlus entire program is how you get the device. Before, you had to wait for an invite.
Oh, I see.
And, they kind of caught some negative PR different ways
Yeah,
on how you would go about getting them.
I heard that, yeah.
Kind of like,
I believe JJ reported on that at one point.
yeah, some kind of sexist. I know we discussed that on a prior episode
Yes.
back when it happened, because it was like, you
It was
guys
a
need
big
to
deal.
stop that.
Uh-huh.
You really need to just knock that off. So hopefully with the OnePlus 2, which we'll kind of delve into now, because that's what kind of led this all off, though we're hoping now, again, hoping that they'll actually go with a more realistic way to get that. Just, hey, it's available, buy it. If it's not available, out of stock. Just
So
do a normal thing like that.
it seems like the first one almost was like a closed beta, if you will. Like only certain people could get a hold of it, and like everyone that got a hold of it, did the feedback. And now this is the real product coming out, and it's going to be under this price.
Right.
Like realistically, I mean, I know before the show we were joking that it was like, oh, it's going to be under $450, so it's going to be $449. But I think they could put it under 400, but they don't want to make any promises.
Yeah, I want to say they could probably go to $399, and then it just makes you wonder, well, how are they making money? Well, they don't really do a lot of advertising.
Right.
That's one of the things.
Well, I think what this is more geared towards is the people like us, the people that know. Yes.
Yeah.
And with that being said, you don't have to put out all these expensive ads because your enthusiasts already know about you.
Right.
And, if they're going to be the ones buying this phone and getting the word out there, eventually, it'll just start trickling down and, get to the people that don't know much about it.
Right. Sort of like Tesla.
Yes.
Yeah. So as Brad mentioned, the OnePlus CEO has come out and said that the OnePlus 2 will be less than $450 to start, obviously.
Beautiful.
And some reports of specs are 4 gig of LP DDR4 RAM. Now,
I don't really understand the LP.
All right. So
I'm assuming that's just like a faster version of what we're using in the smartphones. I'm not
so
sure.
what's going to be in the link here or in the show notes is a link that you can go read on the oneplus.net in the forums. And they answer, why did we choose LPDDR4 for the OnePlus 2? An important benefit is lower power consumption for better battery efficiency, which means you'll be able to use your favorite apps and more without draining the battery. You get twice the bandwidth performance as the LPDDR3 RAM at the same power consumption profile. So that is going to be
that's
wonderful.
good. That's good. That's a good direction to step towards because, lower power consumption, better battery life, right?
Right. And they're going to be pairing that up with a 64-bit Snapdragon 810 processor, which will use all 4 gig to its maximum potential.
8 gig or 810. Huh, that sounds familiar.
Yep. LG G Flex 2. That's the main device that rocks that. And also, I think the HTC One M9, or am I wrong?
I don't know, but 810 isn't that or wait,
It's like octa-core or something
Yeah,
like that.
that's the octa-core that's going to be supposedly in the new Windows phones.
So looking forward to this, I believe the release date's July 27th. So right before Windows 10 goes on launch, it's just going to be a big week then. A lot of things going to be happening that week of July. I may have said June. I can't remember. I'm confused, people. So really looking forward to this and getting more information about this phone. Are you there, Brad?
I am sorry. I was talking.
You're stuck in the chat. Get out of it.
I was talking to the chat room because they're actually commenting on a Microsoft story that is actually affecting one of our chat room people. Daryl, poor Daryl, losing some buddies.
Oh yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah. So, you want to lead that off?
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that. The big Microsoft news that came out today was an email coming out from CEO Satya Nadella stating that they are eliminating 7,800 people worldwide, with the most coming from the phone division, and which leads you to believe likely from the Nokia acquisition back, I guess it was last year or 2 years ago, whenever they did that.
Mm-hmm.
So, according to the New York Times, Microsoft said on Wednesday that it would eliminate up to 7,800 jobs, more than 6% of its workforce, in a major overhaul of its struggling smartphone business. Now, while Microsoft will not stop making smartphones,
yes,
the company's chief executive, Satya Nadella, said on Wednesday that it would no longer focus on the growth of its own smartphone business, but it would instead emphasize the expansion of the broad ecosystem of products, including mobile phones, that ran its Windows software. Quote, I am committed to our first-party devices, including phones. However, we need to focus our phone efforts in the near term while driving reinvention.
So what he's saying is, for now, we need to push products and services, and then I want to say when Windows Phone catches on and we get a little more market share, then we're going to start putting more money into them. But right now, they're just kind of, promoting what we can do. That's what I got out of that.
Yes, definitely. So while it is always bad when people lose their jobs,
it's really it's terrible, and unfortunately it's kind of the corporate way. Bad things happen, they cut massive amounts of jobs, and I mean it almost doesn't matter what company you work for. I mean, this kind of thing just happens, and it's unfortunate. It's one of my more favorite companies, Microsoft, because for a while there where I had felt like on a hiring spree and hired lots of people. I mean, part of that was due to Nokia's equation, but yeah, that's a real bummer, and sorry that you're losing some coworkers there, Daryl. It's terrible, but in order to keep afloat, sometimes terrible choices need to be made, even if they're unpopular and not what people want. Oh, that's my phone going off. Sorry about that.
that noise was that's that something from
Doctor Who. Yep. Yeah, I'm a big nerd. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I forgot I heard that last week.
He's supposed to be at work. What's he texting me for? Anywho.
Yeah, tell him to go to work. Tell him to go to work. So no, it's bad news, but when you factor in that Microsoft just keep throwing out lower and mid-range devices. We all know that they're working on some flagships.
Speaking of which, that 640 is really nice for being a mid-range device, to be honest.
The 640 XL. I know a lot of people are actually getting those, and everything that I've heard from people that have bought one has been positive.
Yeah, it's an awesome device. I wish every carrier had it to sell, whether it be the 640 and the 640 XL or what have you. I mean, I'm currently using the XL, which I really need to try to get something written up on, but I have a wedding this weekend, so that'll be challenging.
Right.
But yeah, awesome phone for being mid-range and $250 off contract. I mean, you can't beat it. I
Nope.
mean, 13 megapixel camera, so
Great price, great price.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So one other bit of Microsoft news came out earlier this week, where, and I want to get your thoughts. I mean, to me, it doesn't really make a huge difference because I signed up for the service. I'm not paying for the service, so I guess you could say I'm not really signed up. But Xbox Music has changed its name to Groove. And what are your thoughts on that? Being a
Ugh.
big Xbox Music user, and
I honestly would rather have, as terrible as it sounds, I would rather have the Zune name than Groove. Groove, I mean, so they have, from what I can tell so far, a pretty brilliant marketing team. And maybe there's a reason why it's called Groove that I don't know about yet. But as of right now, the initial like shock factor for it being called Groove, I'm like, ugh, what? This is in the 70s. I don't know. I think it's really just more important of whether or not it works as well as Zune used to work or something along those lines. It's maybe not so important about what the name is. If it works good and it works well, I think the name will evolve into something that we come to love because it works well, kind of like Zune. So I guess I can look past the name if, once again, it works like it's supposed to.
yeah, so renaming Xbox Music the Groove and Xbox Music Pass to the Groove Music Pass. I don't know.
Yeah, I knew. So the reason, I just feel like Xbox Music never made sense. The reason they used it is because Xbox is a big brand. Putting music with Xbox is, once again, kind of weird. So I felt like they always had to change the name eventually. So here's them changing the name, but the name that they chose isn't, to me, so far not so great, but we will see.
Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely see, and you'll start seeing this change on the next Windows 10 build. So apparently we're going to be getting a new build, relatively soon. Likely this week. Would not surprise me at the slightest, the way they released 3 last week. So
Right.
you got to do at least 1 or 2 this week.
And it's also rumored that the RTM's supposed to show up this week, which we talked about, I believe, on Monday. So that'll be interesting, because one of these next builds could be like the quote-unquote final build before, they release to manufacturers. They put it on PCs that'll be shipped out and ready for July 29th.
Yeah. Now, Rawl in the chat makes a good point that he would have called it Windows Music. Well, I agree. Why not?
Not even that. So I don't know if you've noticed this, Kevin, but so Apple has kind of stopped with the I naming of things and been calling it Apple this.
Yeah. Apple Watch.
Apple Music.
Apple Watch. Yeah. Apple Watch.
And Apple Watch, Apple Music. Microsoft's kind of been doing the same thing. Like they've been, made by Microsoft.
Windows that.
Well, not only Windows, but Microsoft,
yeah.
something like, can't really actually think of an example right now. So terrible example, but Microsoft Music sounds good to me. I mean,
yeah, that would have been.
I don't know,
but Groove. I'm like, who comes up with stuff like this? Who sits in the R&D and all right, guys, you coming in, you got Satya Nadella and some other people, and the guy's coming up to do his presentation. All right, we're gonna change the name of Xbox Music to, wait for it, Groove Music. And it's like you just would just be sitting there and just start hearing crickets. I'm like, I just don't see how that would have went over. But, hey, that's not up to me. I'm not in that line of work. And that's probably why I'm not in that line of work, because I guess I'm just not that creative.
Yeah, I don't know. I like to think that I'm good at naming things, but maybe I'm not.
Yeah. And actually, as Paul Thurrott says, on a related note, Xbox Video is being rebranded as well to Movies and TV.
Yeah, that
makes
yeah. It's Microsoft's standalone version of like what you would have in iTunes essentially. I mean, I'm not upset about that naming scheme. It makes sense. That's what it is. So
Yeah. And halftime's correct. People still call it the iWatch.
right,
Apple Watch.
regardless of if they name it something else, the whole I something is definitely. Well, it makes me wonder if they'll ever rename the iPhone or the iPod or anything like that.
Yeah. I kind of
I
want
know,
that.
I do too, simply because of the name. It holds too much value to change
Yeah.
it. It'd be like changing the name of the Xbox to like Windows Media Center or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Windows Game Player.
Yeah. So, I mean, speaking of, Windows game players and Xboxes, there is a new update that will pretty much be working on all stuff behind the scene. Just came out yesterday. And what this does is gets your Xbox ready for the Windows 10 launch, so you can stream games from your Xbox to your PC, and somebody else could be watching TV while you're playing games on your PC. Well, still playing games on your Xbox, but it's streaming to your PC. So that way, you both can be doing the same thing that you want to do, that you would normally do, without kicking one or the other off the big screen, essentially, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just more comfortable to watch a show on the couch versus watch a show on the computer. So, we're big cord cutters, and we could essentially watch any of our stuff on the computer, but once again, it's just nicer to watch it on the couch. So I will definitely be using this feature, because I don't mind gaming at the PC or couch or what have you. I'll game anywhere.
Right. Yeah. I mean, between Netflix, Hulu Plus, and all sorts of just various services, you could almost get rid of cable entirely.
There is no almost, Kevin. I have.
There's still a few things that I feel I would need. I don't know.
No, we're pretty good. We've got HBO, Showtime, Hulu, and Netflix. And other than that, we have a streaming service, which I will not name because I don't know how they get away with what they do.
You're not clear about the legality of it.
Yeah, but you know what? It works, and that's how we get other shows that would normally not be available to us.
Okay.
So, yeah, actually, that's how we watch Walking Dead. We watch it through the streaming service, and it works, and it's free. So,
Yep.
But once again, I'm not gonna name said thing. I'm sure
I'm
you
not
guys
here to judge.
in the chat room can, figure out what that may or may not be. But yeah, it works, and it's not like I'm, trying to capture it on a capture card on my computer and then burn it to a DVD and then try to distribute it or something. I'm just watching one episode where I can catch up on the series, where eventually I'm gonna, end up buying every single, episode of Walking Dead in a big Blu-ray pack, because that's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still connected to the whole physical media thing. I can't quite get over the whole digital switch yet. Not for something like that.
Understand.
I mean, so to bring that into kind of full circle, with my games, I'm there. Like games, I'm done buying physical media. It just drives me nuts. I have all these stacks of cases under my TV, or stashed in my computer desk, and like I haven't touched them in months, and they're taking up all this room. Whereas I can just download it on my Xbox. I'm trying to be quiet because my fiance is actually like watching the show. So if I say that word too loud, it'll probably command a prompt or something. Anyway, I can download digital and launch it at any point. I never have to get up off the couch and put the disc in or find the disc or anything like that. I know that sounds lazy, but it's convenient.
No, I completely agree.
It just drives me up a wall to have to get up to put a disc in anymore. I mean, some of my older, I say older, but the ones generation's only like 2 years old, basically. But like anything from the first year or two I have physical media of, or anything they've had like on sale, like super cheap. It's physical media. Digital, on the other hand, I mean, well, that's kind of why I had to buy a new hard drive, because of all the digital media. But the nice thing about digital, you can delete it, and if you want it back, you can just re-download it. So
Yeah. Which is one of the things you could do, because I know you said you bought that additional hard drive. You know, if you wanted
yep.
to, you could sell your Xbox One and get you a new terabyte model and still have
No,
your
no,
hard
no,
drive.
no, that's all right.
Oh, that's
No.
right. You don't like the matte finish. You want it to be
I
shiny.
like the shiny.
You like
I don't
dust
care that
magnets.
I don't care that it shows the dust. I clean it every week anyway, because I know what dust can do to your computers and devices. In fact, I did a few posts on that.
Here's a helpful hint. The dust is still there, whether it's matte or not. Just so
Right.
you know, it's still there, just not as
You can
visible.
deny the fact that it's there, but that's only hurting it in the long
Right.
run.
That's right.
So that's why I like shiny devices. So I'm like, hey, that needs to be dusted because it looks ugly right now.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let's talk about kind of, we had this subconscious meeting of the minds this morning. As I was driving to work, I was thinking about something I want to talk about on the show today. Then I get to work and look at the show notes,
Yes.
and you pretty much already had the story in there.
It
So
couldn't have been more perfect.
no, it could not have been.
So, as you may have heard through the news, BlackBerry wants to make an Android device. And I'm like, wait a second, they're still thinking of ways to come out of their deep, dark cave
Yeah,
of
their
or
hardware
pit of
issues.
despair. But you know, there's been a like either a render or an actual image of said phone, and it sort of looks similar to a Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge, but it has a slide out keyboard, which I find interesting. But I don't know. Like, is this something that would interest you? I mean, do you like the physical keyboards, or you know, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Like, because to me, I'm done. I'm gone past the physical keyboard. I don't need it anymore. I like my screen to have the keyboard. I'm okay with that. Um, and I
You
don't
like
know if,
screen real estate. I understand.
yeah, I get that. It's just I don't know if this is enough. Like, because people will still think in their head, oh, it's a BlackBerry. It won't matter if they say a million times over, but it has Android on it, but it's still a BlackBerry. Like, people feel like that brand is so far dead, so gone, that I don't know if this is going to do anything for them.
Right. I mean, there are still the big, passionate BlackBerry camp, as the same as there is for Windows Phone.
Yeah, and
It
I
might
hold
be a
nothing against
small
them.
group, but there are still people that are passionate about the BlackBerry brand. And when I first heard about this, it got me thinking, would I want a BlackBerry OEM create physical device with Android on it? And I would say I would definitely want to try it out.
It would catch your eye,
It would definitely catch my eye because I
just
know,
as a BlackBerry with a Windows Phone operating system would catch my eye.
right? I mean, there's a reason why that company that Ryan Seacrest was a major investor of, that was creating the BlackBerry style keyboard attachment
For
for
an iPhone,
iPhone.
yeah.
There's a reason for that because people still want that BlackBerry keyboard. The BlackBerry keyboard was, when it came to physical keyboards, was fan flippin' tastic. Now, as
Yes,
I
yes, it
mentioned my
was.
Moto Hint QA30 on episode 86, last episode, I was talking about that. It was kind of a slider, and it had a physical keyboard that looked just like the BlackBerry keyboard, but the buttons were nowhere near as responsive,
No.
really stiff, uncomfortable. But you know, if you've used a BlackBerry
So I haven't
or
personally,
Torch, you're fine.
but my fiance, that's all she used to get for they worked so well for her. She loved them. They kind of drove me nuts, to be honest. I could not stand it. Maybe it's because of the physical keyboard. Like there's too many buttons for me. Like I just, I don't know. I didn't adhere to it the way she did. But she loved them. And then when they started to go downhill, started making less and less phones. She's like, well, should I get this BlackBerry or should I finally make the jump to iPhone? I'm like, well, the iPhone has at the time, it's like the 4S. And it was the first time they had the dual core instead of just a single core in the BlackBerry. Like the iPhone's got a dual core, I'd go iPhone because, more cores, more, things you can do at once. So, and she did that and she hasn't looked back since. And I doubt that this would even remotely sway her decision, especially because it's Android. She's just not a fan of Android,
Right.
which, to each their own, obviously.
Now, for I would say the majority of our audience is, big Microsoft and Windows phone fans. Imagine BlackBerry releasing a Windows phone. Would you do it?
See, once again, I don't feel the need. So I feel a physical keyboard is going to make the thing thicker than it should be.
But what if it doesn't have a physical keyboard? They make touchscreen devices, Brad.
They do. They haven't done very well either.
But then again,
if it was on a Windows phone, try.
Got the BlackBerry OS, which people really are not a fan of. I didn't find it very intuitive.
No, oh God, no. I disliked it very strongly.
Now, I'm talking about OS 10.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys have really spent much time with OS 10 or whatever version it is.
I went to Best Buy when that was kind of a new thing, BlackBerry OS 10, whatever they called that. And I tried to sit there for like half an hour trying to figure it out and use it because I was curious. It's another tech thing. It's BlackBerry. At the time they were still sort of big. I'm like, yeah, I'll check this out, see what's going on. And I tried using it. I'm like, this is horrible. Like the discoverability is non-existent. If you don't know how to do something, it's really hard to figure out how things work. Especially for the average consumer who would probably get said BlackBerry. Your enterprise customers, and it just like I would much rather have chose any other smartphone of the three versus BlackBerry. So, and I don't know, like even if they were to make it just a full touchscreen, it's really hard to compete with how well Lumias are done and the apps behind the Lumia line. It's going to be really hard for any smartphone maker, for me as a Windows phone lover, to choose something besides Lumia, because I don't know, I just feel like Microsoft / Nokia does it right.
So say Samsung decides to get this crazy idea in their head and releases a Note 4 design with Windows 10 on it.
Well, I'm not a fan of Samsung anymore. I mean, it's
hardware.
It's a great device. It's a great device, but I mean, if Lumia has a comparable device to that, I would more than likely go to the Lumia. One, because of the apps, and two, because it's pretty much direct from Microsoft, and I feel like they support their devices.
But other than Lumia camera, what really Lumia apps are there?
Well, okay, so it used to be Drive. I guess it's not Here Drive anymore, or Here Plus anymore. I mean, that used to be the
like
case.
Nokia Maps and stuff like that.
Right. The Here is it Here Plus, Here Drive? I can't remember. Anyway, it used to be that, and that used to be a big feature because I use them all the time and they work for me all the time. Don't know why they don't work for everybody else. But yeah, Here Maps work for me pretty good. I mean, that used to be the case. But okay, so for instance, HTC a few years back, they brought out some phones, and it's like, oh wow, they're making good phones for Windows Phone. I'm going to get one. Well, I know a few people in our group that got one. Guess what? They stopped supporting them, so they were stuck with Windows 8. They couldn't get 8.1.
Right.
That worries me. What if that same thing were to happen if I were to buy, let's say, a BlackBerry or a Samsung with Windows 10 on it?
Yeah,
they could do the exact same thing. They'd be like, oh, this platform's not going anywhere. I'm not supporting this anymore. That's exactly why I stick by Lumia, because it's Microsoft supported.
Oh, it's Microsoft's phone now.
Exactly.
It's
It's
theirs.
it's their phone. It's like their Surface line. They constantly get updates on Surface, just like Xbox constantly get updates. They're constantly improving it, and that's why I stick to those brands, because I know it's going to be supported. That's probably the biggest factor in why. I'll pass on that, Samsung Windows Phone or BlackBerry Windows Phone or whatever else might come, to the front lines.
Okay. Hey, I respect your opinion. I think I would really give
But
it
it's
a
nice
chance.
getting to the root of why I would stick by that. It's nice actually like saying it, because I don't think I've ever really thought about that way before.
Yeah, I would. Oh man, if again, I know I've talked about it on prior episodes that I really wish smartphone OEMs would just, hey, all right, here's a hardware line, and
Here's all the OSs you can put on it.
exactly,
Go. And here's all the carriers it supports. Go.
yeah, that I mean, that is perfect world
I
scenario
was going to
for
say, in a
me.
perfect world, Kevin, in a perfect world.
And I know I've been so guilty over time of the perfect world. I even had an ex-boss tell me that, Kevin, this is not a perfect world. I'm like, but this idea would work so well if people would implement it. So,
Well, you see, Kevin,
yeah,
companies are greedy, so I doubt that would ever
I know.
happen.
I'm too optimistic. Hey, society can change again for the better. It doesn't have to continue swirling down the toilet.
Well, that's why we have wonderful devices like the OnePlus. And
But we just can't have nice things. There's always a catch. Always a catch.
well, I mean, look at the Lumia line. They're so far, known for being inexpensive. I'm hoping the new flagships will hit somewhere around that $400 mark off contract.
Yeah, but
Because
2-3 years between flagships, man, that's no good either.
no, but I mean, they're in a terrible position as it is. I mean, once the flagships hit, they'll start hitting regularly again, I believe. It's just it's
have
been a
poured
long.
they've poured too much into these lower end devices.
Exactly. I mean, so that's where they're doing the best though, overseas, and that's where they have
Which
more
makes
market
no
share
sense.
overseas.
Isn't that funny that okay, we'll just throw Microsoft and the Xbox. The
Yeah,
Xbox hardly sells at all outside of the United States, but yet their phone line cannot sell worth a lick in the United States.
I know
But it's like completely backwards. Makes 0 sense whatsoever.
well, think about it like this. So with the cheaper smartphones overseas,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so over
They
there,
found their target market.
yeah, over there, they're pretty much aren't contracts. Everyone buys their phone outright. The best thing about Windows Phone, it works great whether you have 512 gigabytes of RAM, which I do, and I use that almost every day, or had when I'm not, testing out a device, and it works fantastic. And guess what? I have a 1520 with, is it 2 gigs of RAM?
Yeah, I believe so.
I
Yeah,
don't remember. Anyway,
it
2
should
gigs
be.
of RAM works fantastic. Either way you go, doesn't matter how low the specs go on the Windows phones, they still work phenomenally. That can't be said for iOS, because they tried that with the 5C and that didn't really go over very well. That can't really be said for most Android devices, because they start to chug, they start to get slow, and maybe they just need to iterate on the OS, and that'll change later. But as of right now, most people, when you say what OS works across all devices, you're going to say Windows Phone.
Yeah. Windows Mobile is it works well across devices, like you said.
Yeah.
But you can tell that lower end hardware. If you're using a 520, your experience is still going to be different than what it is on a 1520.
Oh, right. I mean, you're not going to have, all the sensors and flash and all that kind of, jazz. But I mean, shoot, spend an extra $100 and you can have an XL, have all the bells and whistles at a decent price. 13 megapixel camera, big battery. I mean,
I would buy a 640 XL in a heartbeat over the 830.
Oh, absolutely. Well, number one, because of the screen size. Number two, because of the battery life. And
Number
I don't know.
three,
I almost feel like
probably runs better.
Yeah,
I
I don't.
thought the 830 was terrible. It was very sluggish.
That's so weird. Like I always hear that. I'm like it's so weird to think about because I always thought that the 830 would have been or could have been
It
a
should
great
have.
device. Yeah,
It should have.
it's so strange to me.
Yeah. I don't think it would have sold near as well as it did if they would not have packaged it with a Fitbit.
Right, and yeah, that's the other thing. They kind of packaged it with other things to kind of get it out there better, which good for them. Do what you can. Speaking of packaging things with other things, I just wanted to segue into Showtime real quick.
All right.
Because this is really kind of a game changer in a way. So if you all know, you can get HBO Now. It's $15 a month. And you get access to, HBO's huge library of shows, movies on demand whenever you want, no commercials, things like that. Showtime just came out with their service, and guess what?
What?
It's $11 a month. They're undercutting HBO. Yes. This is awesome. Why is this awesome? Because this could potentially create like head-to-head combat with these two. They could drive down the price of HBO, potentially. And what's even better is if you have Hulu, you can connect your Showtime subscription up with Hulu and save $2 more. So it's $9 a month, which we just did this morning because that's an awesome price and I will pay for that. Being that cheap, like the no-brainer. I get access to all their shows, no commercials, because actually she's watching it right now. I've seen 0 commercials.
Yeah, Showtime don't have commercials anyway.
Exactly. Even though it's on Hulu, no commercials. You get all the movies. You get everything as if it was Showtime anytime. The service that you connect with, you're actually buying cable, which we don't buy cable. We don't have time to mess with the DVR. We don't have time to record all these shows. We don't have time to try to work our schedules around that. We'll just watch something on demand whenever we want. That's how we operate. But yeah, so $11 a month standalone, $9 a month if you have Hulu, and yeah, no reason not to get it if you are a Showtime person.
Yeah.
So that is out now. So go check that out.
Go get it. You get a free 30-day trial as well.
Yes, you. And if you sign up right away, you still get that 33. You still get that 30-day trial with your subscription. So
Nice.
Awesome sauce. Bravo Showtime, and I hope that this affects HBO's pricing.
It will. I mean,
I really
the
hope.
first person to the game always kind of throws that high price out to see how it goes, and then when the competitors get in there and start undercutting it, the prices start averaging out.
Well, it's funny because anytime HBO does something, Showtime usually echoes it, or vice versa. So for Showtime to undercut them almost twice over, because if you have Hulu once again, and chances are you do if you're a cord cutter, it's $9 a month. I mean, that's $6 cheaper. I mean, doesn't sound like a lot, but that's what 70, 80 something dollars more that you save a year,
right?
For being $6 cheaper. That's awesome.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's another game, or a great night out somewhere, real nice restaurant. I mean,
nice dinner.
Yeah. So think about that. So, yep, that's all I have to say about that.
Okay, well, that's good. I'm glad you had something to say about that. All right, so app and entertainment picks. Go ahead and go with your first one.
Yeah, so this might surprise you, but most of this is actually through experience of my fiance, because she has Apple devices, and I am choosing Apple Music. So what's funny about this is she was kind of going into this. She's like, it's a free trial for pretty much 3 months. It's like, why not, use it? I'll give it a try. She has never really liked a streaming service. She absolutely loves Apple Music. She's going to end up paying the $10 a month to keep it. And the reason being is because of all of the kind of cool things that they do for you when you're looking at your music. Now, one thing that I don't like about it is the Apple Music in your music app kind of takes over the the app itself, and like to get to your music, it's just a little tab over in the corner, and you have to click on that in order to get to anything that's in your library or playlist or anything. Which I don't know how I feel about that. I almost feel like there should be separate apps. But that aside, I mean, they curate a lot of things. Like they have, oh, because you like this artist, you should check out these artists, and they'll put a collection of songs together, um, of their like top songs to try to get you into that artist, and kind of like a snapshot of like things that they've done and like some of their greatest achievements, and put that all on a playlist and let you listen to that. I mean, you from what I understand, you can listen to pretty much anything that's on iTunes. You can listen to on Apple Music, which is pretty big. I mean, I'm looking at Taylor Swift right now. You can listen to Taylor Swift right now. That's pretty big because she's not on Spotify. So for her to be on Apple Music is kind of a big thing. And it just looks like a lot of this makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's a first gen product still, so there are a few kind of wonky things about it, like I mentioned, with your music kind of being shoved over in a corner away from everything else, and them kind of showcasing everything on top of your music, which I don't know how I feel about that, but either way, it seems like it's a pretty solid app for the most part. It seems slightly sluggish compared to the old music app. And she's tried it on both the iPod and the iPhone. So it's not, just, oh, well, it's because it's on the iPod, it has a worse chip or small, not as fast chip working in it. So, it's not because of that reason. It's just probably because it's the first generation product. They still need to iterate on it, make it a little better, make it run better. Once they get that up and going, maybe separate the apps, in my opinion, or do something a little different with My Music versus the actual Apple Music portion of it. They need to do something a little different, because that really bothers me. But other than that, it just really seems to be a solid choice compared to like Xbox Music, Spotify, Pandora, and yeah. So if you are an Apple user and you're listening right now, maybe you should give that 3-month trial a try and see how much you like it. Because I'd be curious to know. Tweet at me, Twitter at me.
Right. Tweet at Brad at
Yes.
holy_shadows. Yeah, I've yet to really mess with Apple Music too much yet, because I've been catching up on a lot of video projects. So I've been having to listen to the audio within them.
The other thing that's interesting, it does work a lot like Pandora. Like the more you listen, the more it learns about you. So it brings up more artists that maybe you've never heard of before, and still gives you that snapshot of, here's a really good playlist of their greatest songs. And it kind of keeps doing things like that. So that's pretty cool.
Well, I guess it's a good thing that I'm not so paranoid about services watching me, because otherwise I wouldn't use it. Don't learn me. Don't learn who I am. I want you to know what I like.
Oh, Kevin, they already know who we are.
I know.
Skynet is being built right now.
That's right. All these cameras on street corners and stuff like that, they're not just there to see people running red lights.
Oh, right.
Okay, so rant time.
Oh, I'm excited. Let's do this.
I'm going to put a link in the show notes to a video which shows Ariana Grande, very popular pop star right now, who admittedly is very attractive, in my opinion. That's just me. I think she's really good looking. But apparently, she hates Americans and America. This video will show, this is actually from TMZ. I don't know how they obtained it, but you never know how they obtain hardly anything of what it is that they do, because they've got people everywhere. So I guess it's really no surprise that they get everything that they get. And it shows her, I guess her boyfriend, who I guess is a, behind the scenes dancer, and 2 other people are at a donut shop. Towards the end of this video, she just starts blabbing about I hate Americans and I hate America. Well, if you hate the people so much that have made you famous and have, bought your music, paid for your concerts, given you, millions of dollars, if you hate it so bad, refund all that and get the out, GTFO. Bye, Ariana. Bye. And pretty much any other celebrity that wants to, they're all fine. They love America as long as people are buying their product, whether it's an actor, actress, or musician, or athlete, anything like that. If you hate it so bad, stop profiting.
If you don't like it, you can get out.
Right. And then that goes for, anybody in any country, really. I know we've got worldwide listeners, so it's not just a United States issue, but if
just kind of,
if you don't
disappointing is the right word, but
yeah, if you don't like rules in such of a certain country, either work to change them or leave. It really is that simple.
And it's unfortunate because I think in this instance, she might be talking about maybe one type of American people and grouping us all in that category of what she may not like. And because it's like maybe her only experience with Americans.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like this is just a short 10-second clip of her just saying that and you don't get an idea of what was going on prior to it. I mean, this video is almost 2 minutes long. It's at least a minute and a half, I think.
Yeah. And I just feel like she's in the wrong because, even like most Americans, when they say, oh, I don't like this group of people or, things like that, we kind of group people into one group and it's the bad group instead of giving maybe that people the benefit of the doubt and, saying, well, just because they're of this, group doesn't mean that they're like that or anything like, and this is a perfect example. I don't think that what she's trying to convey here, what she's thinking of at the time when she says that, I think she's thinking of the people that drive her nuts. Maybe the paparazzi, I don't know. But it just, no, don't.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm curious how her PR team's going to handle this.
Oh yes, that'll be delicious.
Taken out of context. No,
that will be delicious.
When your sentence or your statement is only like 4 words, and it's I hate, I hate this. Yeah, sorry. There's no. You don't misinterpret that. That's a literal statement. And they always want to sugarcoat it. Oh well, that's not really what they meant. Well, yeah, actually it is, because you're pretty much going to say your personal beliefs. That is really typically who you are. Sorry.
No, that's right. This is your show.
As I'm getting older, my filter, and I've really noticed this the last couple months, my filter is becoming looser and less controlled.
Well, I don't know.
I don't mean to turn this show into a political platform, but goodness gracious.
Hey, it's like I said, I mean, if you think of it this way, that sentence that she says was caught on a camera, which, hey, that's technology, right?
Exactly. Yep.
There you go. Connections.
Yeah. Now I just need to contact whoever was that filmed and say, all right, what kind of camera were you using at the time?
What are the specs? What's your setup? Do you have a DVR?
Yeah. What kind of rig are you using for that?
How many terabytes does it hold?
Oh, gotta love it. Gotta love it.
All right. Anywho.
Yeah. So that pretty much does it for the episode. I would definitely love to get
a weekly poll update.
Oh my goodness. Good catch. Good catch. Do you use ride sharing services like Uber or Lyft? You can vote in our straw poll, which that link is in the show notes. And I'm going to go look and see what the results are at the moment currently.
Kind of wish there was a way to look at the results without voting again.
Right. So as of right now, we have 24% of people say it's not available in my area.
Okay.
29% of people say yes, and I love them. 24% say no, but I've been wanting to. And 24% say no, taxis are fine.
It's almost quarter.
I know. I
That is
like that. It's
nuts.
very divided.
Holy crap. I would never have guessed that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Okay, that's cool. That is cool.
Right. So there's still a few days to go. We'll release the results on the Monday episode, which I might have somebody else joining me that day.
Yeah, so next week, some weird things going on at work. I'll be kind of working days, which means I won't be able to be here. So you probably will not hear me next week. So yeah, there's that. Just so our listeners are aware.
Yeah. Next week is kind of going to be. We might not have a episode next Wednesday because, as I mentioned last episode, I will be on location for a video shoot that I'm actually recording. And as you just heard, Brad is probably going to be unavailable. So,
yes. Oh, the joys of the everyday life.
oh yes, definitely. But we'll be here Monday. I'll be here Monday.
Indeed. And later, much later in August, I will also be absent another week because we are moving. So by the time we get things back up and running, you will be seeing a different background. And I'll be setting things up a little differently. So hopefully that I can...
A different background from your still image.
Yeah, hopefully I can use camera all the time once we get things situated. So I just due to...
Out of respect for the fiance, I understand.
Exactly. It's mostly that. So
I understand and definitely respect that, and I'm sure everybody else does as well.
yes, hopefully.
So again, shout outs to Daryl. Really appreciated your email yesterday about the Glenn Campbell documentary, and sorry to hear the news about your father who passed some time ago about Alzheimer's and stuff like that. It's a very serious disease, and hopefully the people representing the Mayo Clinic up in Minnesota truly mean what they said about making strong advances towards working with this and helping to detect and possibly treat this disease, because it can really hurt families. It's very damaging for all involved. And also shout out to Rawl for being a continued all-star. You're going to have some things on the way to you as well. So
yes,
do appreciate
indeed.
the continued support. And if you as an individual listener would like to help support the show to help keep this going, simply visit thetechinformist.com/support. You can support the show monthly, sort of a la Patreon, where anywhere from $1 to $50 a month. There's like 4 or 5 different options you can choose from there. Or if you are a business owner and you would like to reach our listenership with your product or service, you can also do that as well. The advertising agreement, including pricing and stuff like that, is available on the website to download, fill out, and either email or physically mail to us. So would like to make sure to get that out of the way. Again, my name is Kevin Harvell. You can find me on Twitter at Kevin Harvell. That's with 2 L's, everybody. Love it. And Brad Whiteside is available on Twitter as well at holy_shadows, as I mentioned earlier.
Yes, and gamertag Holy Shadows. So same way as Twitter, just without the underscore, because I can actually use a space on Xbox Live. So
yes.
If you'd like to game with me, don't just like invite me to a game, by the way. Like send me a message like, hey, I listened to the Tech Informers, maybe let's play some games. I'd be a little more apt to maybe like join you, because sometimes I just get like invites randomly while like maybe playing Destiny and walking throughout the world because people need help with certain things, but they never like say that they do. So, just shoot me a message, Xbox Live, and I'll definitely answer back.
Yeah, kind of like I get a lot of Skype requests now.
Right. I don't know who it's a random thing or yeah, right. So I'm just like, once again,
decline.
Yeah, hit me a message so I'm more apt to answer rather than just kind of ignore the game request. So do that.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Just connect. We love connecting with our listeners, and it's just interacting. It makes doing this all the more fun. I'm actually going to get to meet Daryl in person later this month in just a few weeks.
Lucky,
Down in
lucky,
Texas. I
lucky.
know. I'm so looking forward to that.
Uh,
I'm so excited.
Maybe next year.
I'm almost more excited for that than I am going to the conference. I think the whole experience is going to be great, but I don't know which one I'm more excited for: meeting Daryl or going to this conference. I don't know. It's a very close toss up.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah. So that
Mr.
doesn't.
150, 150.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll never hear the end of it. All right. So that does it for this episode. Until next time, have a great weekend, everybody. Consider yourself informed. We are out.
See you guys.